Fashion has always been a language. Long before social media, long before magazines, even before photography, clothing told the world who you were, what you owned, what you believed, and where you stood in society. But throughout history, this language has sometimes taken very strange forms. People have powdered their hair with flour. They have worn entire ships on their heads. They have elongated their skulls, darkened their teeth, balanced towering wigs, and strutted through cities in shoes so tall they could barely walk. And the most fascinating part, at the time, these styles were considered beautiful, elegant, desirable. Tonight, we step into the wardrobe of the past and explore the weirdest fashion trends humanity has ever embraced. Chopins, walking on stilts in 16th century Europe. Height was status, and nowhere was this more visible than in Venice, where aristocratic women wore shoes called chopins, platforms so extreme that some reached over 20 inches tall. These were not subtle heels. They were stilts. Women could barely walk without assistance. Servants often supported them on each side as they navigated streets. The higher the chopin, the wealthier the wearer appeared. Height meant the family could afford luxury, excess, and servants. Ironically, chopins may have started as practical footwear to keep dresses out of muddy streets. But fashion transformed utility into spectacle. Walking became a performance. Every step announced wealth. The towering wigs of the 18th century in the 1700s, hair stopped being hair. It became architecture. Aristocrats across Europe wore powdered wigs that rose dramatically upward, decorated with feathers, fruit, ribbons, miniature ships, and even sculpted scenes. Some styles were so large, they required wearers to sleep upright to preserve them. This trend flourished in the court culture surrounding figures like Marie Antoinette, whose elaborate hairstyles symbolized power, extravagance, and theatrical identity. Powdered wigs were coated in flour or starch, which attracted insects. Reports describe mice nesting inside elaborate hair constructions. Perfumes masked unpleasant smells, creating an atmosphere both glamorous and grotesque. Fashion here wasn't about comfort. It was about spectacle. Blackened teeth in feudal Japan, beauty meant darkness, at least for teeth. The custom, known as ohaguro, involved dyeing teeth black, using a mixture of iron filings and vinegar. Far from being considered unattractive, black teeth symbolized maturity, loyalty, and elegance. Married women, samurai, and members of the aristocracy practiced it for centuries. The blackened smile signaled social status and commitment. It was a visual marker of adulthood and refinement. To modern eyes, it seems shocking, but within its cultural context, it represented dignity and sophistication. Fashion is never universal. It belongs to its time and place. Lead makeup, beauty at a price. Pale skin was once the ultimate sign of nobility. It meant you did not work outdoors. You were protected from the sun, and therefore above labor. To achieve this ghostly complexion, people in Renaissance Europe applied makeup containing lead. One famous wearer was Elizabeth I, whose white painted face became iconic. The mixture created a flawless mask, but slowly poisoned the skin beneath. Users suffered hair loss, scarring, and long-term illness. Yet the pursuit of beauty continued. Fashion often demanded sacrifice, sometimes deadly sacrifice. The mirror hid the cost. The crinoline cage in the 19th century. Dresses expanded to impossible widths. Women wore crinolines, cage-like structures made of steel hoops that extended skirts outward in massive circles. Doorways became obstacles. Sitting required careful choreography. Wind could lift skirts into humiliating displays. Despite the inconvenience, crinolines symbolized elegance and refinement. A wide dress physically claimed space in a crowded world. It forced distance between the wearer and others. It was fashion as architecture again, a moving room. Foot binding in China. For nearly 1,000 years, small feet were considered the height of feminine beauty in parts of China. The process of foot binding began in childhood. Young girls' feet were tightly wrapped to prevent growth, breaking bones and reshaping the arch. The ideal lotus foot measured only a few inches long. Walking became painful and limited, but tiny feet were associated with grace, discipline, and aristocratic status. A woman with bound feet signaled that her family was wealthy enough that she never needed to work. Beauty here was inseparable from suffering. Fashion shaped the body itself. The codpiece, Renaissance display during the Renaissance. Men embraced a garment that modern audiences often find surprising. The codpiece. This padded, decorative pouch attached to men's trousers exaggerated the groin area. It was sometimes brightly colored, jeweled, or embroidered. The codpiece was not subtle symbolism. It projected masculinity, power, and fertility. In an era obsessed with lineage and legacy, fashion turned the male body into a public statement. Clothing didn't just decorate the body, it amplified it. The hobble skirt in the early 1900s, a trend emerged that restricted movement to an almost comedic degree. The hobble skirt narrowed dramatically at the ankles, forcing women to take tiny steps. Walking quickly became impossible. Some women needed assistance boarding trains or climbing stairs. Designers promoted the silhouette as sleek and modern. Critics called it absurd. Yet for a brief moment, elegance meant limitation. Controlled movement suggested refinement, a rejection of hurried, working-class mobility. Fashion often separates the elite from the practical world. Powdered faces and beauty patches in 17th and 18th century Europe. Aristocrats decorated their faces with small black patches made of silk or velvet. These beauty patches concealed scars from smallpox, but also acted as flirtatious signals. Placement carried coded meanings. A patch near the lips might suggest boldness, near the eye, passion. Faces became canvases. Identity was stylized, symbolic, theatrical. The body itself was part of fashion's performance. Conclusion: the logic of the strain. Looking back, these trends may seem ridiculous, uncomfortable, or even disturbing. But every era believes its beauty standards are rational. Future generations may look at modern fashion with the same confusion we feel toward chopins and crinolines. Tight shoes, cosmetic surgery, extreme dieting. The pursuit of beauty has never been gentle. Fashion is not just about clothing. It is about power, class, identity, fear, desire. It reflects what a society values and what it is willing to endure to achieve admiration. The strange becomes normal until time passes and normal becomes strange again. Bye, we will meet again.